Our next story takes us to Bessemer, Alabama, where we will be finding out likely this week, likely any moment, on the decision that the employees have made on whether to unionize at the Amazon fulfillment there. There has been an ongoing battle for months in the unionization of that. And what's starting to come out, Jennifer, over the last 4 or 5 weeks is, we'll put it gently, questionable tactics that Amazon has been using to break the back of the unionization effort there. Want to go ahead and roll a first clip, and then we can unpack that a little bit.
Okay.
Even when they go use the restroom and close the door behind them, they have something up there saying vote no against the union.
Amazon actually had the city to come out there and recalibrate the red lights so they can stop and chat with us.
They are coming and stopping us from working, doing our jobs, to basically ram the information in our heads about why we shouldn't have a union.
The kind of union bust that I've been seeing from Amazon has been very far-fetched.
I want to say around the first week in November, that's about the time they hired their union busters to try to disrupt everything, to try to confuse disinformation, et cetera, et cetera.
I think they pretty much scared because don't nobody want to lose their job.
Why are we being punished for trying to seek help? We are supposed to seek help when we feel like we are being mistreated.
Amazon actually had the city to come out there and recalibrate the red lights.
There was a truck across the field that had been sitting there for about 2 hours. And so we went over to him and he said, no guys, I'm just here to do a traffic study. Right there at our red light where we stand. And then they stayed there for the rest of that day. And from that day forward, those red lights were completely different.
And the reason they do that is when they come down the exit, that red light will turn green. And they have to keep going. So they can stop and chat with them.
A person might pull up and say, hey, can you answer this quick question for me? By the time she gets that out of her mouth, the light has changed green that quick.
Caused an accident since we've been out there. Big Mike almost got hit.
2 cars crashed and jumped up on the block where I was standing at. I had to literally jump off the block, get back up and try to help the people to make sure they was okay. One young lady, whole front end of the car was off, so I was just luckily, by the grace of God, that I got out the way.
Every time we go to the bathroom in your stall, in the men bathroom, as soon as you go to the stall, you got an anti-union flyer right there in front of you. You got flyers in the break room. You got when you walking in and walking out, you got big banners saying early vote, vote no.
It really touched me in a way when they started having the classroom teachings about why we shouldn't have a union, because as a part of leadership, I didn't get the proper training that I needed.
They're taking people to numerous meetings a day.
Some of the younger people are kind of confused. They're afraid because Amazon told them in the meeting that if you get the union, your benefits will be taken away. It's just not true.
So, Amazon is plagued with that system.
They're scared.
And, they're not scared of us. They're scared of the people coming together and empowering yourself and finally saying enough is enough.
Jennifer, it seems we have a theme in the show tonight, which is enough is enough. We've actually heard that words in 3 different stories tonight.
Yeah, that's disgusting. Talk about gaslighting, manipulative, trying to indoctrinate your employees to believe that the union can't, but you can. I got 5 words, people. Seize the means of production. There we go.
So one of the things that jumps out at me is if we look at the automotive industry, and the automotive industry move into the southern states, and we have a lot of data on that now, and the automotive industry promised to bring good paying jobs, better benefits, to lift up areas that were economically depressed. And they got huge tax incentives that ironically the employees then have to fill in the holes on to open up auto manufacturing production in these southern states. And starting pay compared to UAW union roles might start at $16, $17, $18 an hour. But when we look at the data over 2 decades, Jennifer, the poverty rates, the home ownership rates, the life expectancy rates, the education rates, the needles haven't moved because they're paying the workers just enough. And when you compete against small mom and pop manufacturing operations or agricultural operations, yes, the pay is better. But is the pay actually better to lift these workers into the middle class of America? And the data plays out that the answer is absolutely no.
No, it's not. And it's just another form of worker exploitation by U.S. corporations. I mean, it's like the maquiladoras that sit on the U.S.-Mexico border where these U.S. companies go and exploit, the labor of Mexican people because they know that they need the money, but basically pay them shit wages because they can. And then they get to, bring the product back into the United States and sell it and make bank off it because capitalism.
Yes, exactly. And then Amazon started running some ads, and we have an ad. It's a short ad. I'm going to go ahead and run it. And then I'm going to talk about, Jennifer, where they actually ran this ad.
We at the Birmingham team have a great leadership. We really don't need anyone coming in and telling us what they want to give us, because basically we have everything we need here. Always wanted to work for Amazon. This is the only place I've seen that have benefits from day one. There's no waiting period. You got chances to advance.
Vote no for the union.
I would vote no.
It's not needed.
Vote no, we can do it without the dues.
And one of the things that jumps out at me in that video is this is the first place I have ever worked where you got benefits on the first day. I have never worked at anywhere in my life, Jennifer. Going back to a burger flipper back in my Gen X days at McDonald's where I didn't get benefits on the first day.
That was so alarming. Oh my, did she not look coerced?
It totally looks like a hostage video, and there are a ton of videos on TikTok that are making fun of that commercial. On the subject of channels like TikTok and social media, Amazon started running that ad on Twitch, which is, that's right, owned by Amazon. And then when they were called out for it, Amazon said, whoops, we actually didn't mean to run that on Twitch. We're sorry. And they pulled that ad back down. Full disclosure, I worked at Amazon for almost a year. I am fully out of all my clauses and everything else attached to that. They knew they were running those ads on Twitch. There was no oops there. The only oops is they got called out for it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that is like, wow. That video was disturbing.
Well, we're just going to dig through another rock layer as we keep going here, Jennifer, because there is apparently pee in the bottle gate that is going on. There were reports that workers, not just their truck drivers and delivery drivers, but that people in the fulfillment centers wouldn't take their breaks because they would count against them if they did. And there's been widespread reports of this through the Amazon fulfillment network going on for 3 years. So people would pee in a bottle. Well, Amazon a week ago lit up someone on social media, I believe a reporter. They say, you don't believe these stories. They can't possibly be true. And then Amazon had to walk it all back. Let me roll the clip.
Yes, this is all about, obviously, there's the union fight. But what's really interesting is this could be such a big backlash against Jeff Bezos himself, because he's the one who was being very aggressive, particularly with these Twitter feeds, saying that the company needed to be more aggressive. But I also think that, it's such an issue because the union, I mean, the workers are really looking for better working conditions. And the fact that Amazon would get out there and actually put the focus and make these sort of snarky Twitter feeds about, people don't pee in bottles, which obviously was incorrect, has been a real issue for them, because it seems like they're being very dismissive of worker concerns, whereas, if the issue were racism, if it were sexism, they would have some sensitivity. They would say, "Oh, we're looking at this issue." They wouldn't be dismissive. It really makes them look hard-hearted.
Hard-hearted. That's an interesting way to describe the whole pee in the bottle issue. And I want to reiterate, it's really important for our audience, when we're talking about peeing in the bottle, it isn't just the truck drivers. It is the people in the fulfillment centers that are peeing in bottles. And Jennifer, I will say, particularly in the age of COVID, if you are out and about, public toilet access has been a flipping nightmare. I have had multiple occasions when I was out in the field back in the Chaz Chop days and at other protests where 8-10 hours, and I literally ran to the house because I was like, as I got into the driveway, because I'm like 30 seconds away from embarrassing myself. I get this is an issue in the driver's space, but Amazon, in their response and walking it back, tried to conflate this as, well, this is an industry issue, and we know that our delivery drivers have talked about this. It's gross. The whole thing is gross.
Yeah. And then to have like the audacity to minimize it, and then to put out these videos and have all this going on. Jeff Bezos, like we joke about Jeff Bezos's balls all the time being in Seattle. He's got some pretty big fucking balls for a little short bald dude. I'm going to say that right now. But again, this just goes back to capitalism, worker exploitation, and all of the things that come along with it, and these big corporations holding so much power. So I'm going to say it one more time, people. Seize the means of production.
Here's my prediction on what's going to happen. I think that they're going to unionize. I think it'll pass with no more than by 5%. I think it'll be close. So I think it'll be like, from 51-49 to 55-45. I think that there will then be, the vote wasn't valid. We need to count all the votes. Let's get Sidney Powell. Let's get Rudy Giuliani. And let's get the magnifying glasses. And then I think Amazon's going to close that fulfillment center down. That's my prediction I will put on the table here tonight.
And then put a bunch of people out of work. And further, this is just so gross to me. We've had, like, other than the Pandia health story, which was great, go women's reproductive rights, get access to the shit you need. The rest of our stories have made me feel like I need to go take like a 6-hour shower.
Well, that's okay, because we can end on a funny note. In 2018, South Park season 22 did 2 episodes together that skewered Amazon and the fulfillment centers and compared them to the company store back into, say, the late 1800s into the up to about 1920 or 1925, when we started to see some real worker reform in the United States. And it's a really powerful video. I get it. Look, and I even said, like, I watched some a couple of weeks ago, right? I was like, they played some older South, and they're just gross. They're really gross. These are huge social commentary episodes. I would love to be able to play the company store video, but it uses the song 16 Tons by Tennessee Fort Ernie in its entirety. It's like a music video. It plays it in its entirety. Look, if you don't want to watch the episode, go onto YouTube after this show. Just do a search for South Park, Amazon, 16 Tons, or South Park, Amazon Fulfillment. It'll be one of the top things. Multiple people have cut the music video. But again, I was concerned, particularly Facebook, would go if we played the whole thing. But, Jennifer, it's like It's like South Park predicted this, and I am going to play a little clip from the episode of Fulfillment.
Mayor, you have a visitor.
Not now, I'm having problems.
But Mayor, it's Jeff Bezos.
Okay, let him in.
Right on through here, Mr. Bezos.
Please, Mayor, have a seat.
Oh, thank you. I guess you're here because of the strike?
We had a deal, Mayor. You told me this town would be the perfect place for one of our fulfillment centers.
Jennifer's like, they so predicted the future there. If you're looking at that and you're going, where have I seen the heads like that? It's from a Star Trek episode, from the original Star Trek. They had characters that they spoke telepathically, and they had the big brains, and they acted very malevolent and arrogantly against the other smaller humans. They are two really powerful episodes about the implications of Amazon, of consumerism, and how they treat their employees, and how we as consumers behave. Jennifer, you and I were talking earlier tonight. Mm-hmm. Where are you going to go?
Yeah, no, that and Comcast. We were talking about Comcast and Amazon. Yeah. What do you do?
The clock that I have to help me keep on time for the show, Amazon. 3 of these lights that are in here in the studio right now, Amazon. The tripod that the camera is on, Amazon. Most of my light stands are Amazon Basics because they're fantastic light stands, and I can get 2 for $21. So it's also like the Walmart episode that South Park did on how do you defeat Walmart? You will have to kill the heart of Walmart. And what is the heart of Walmart? Well, it's actually a mirror located in the electronics department that shows you your face. We're the heart of Amazon. Yeah. And I don't know how we get out of it, because our government has allowed this almost online monopoly to exist. And it is only growing larger.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Larger, exploiting more people. And, if you're right, and they do unionize and they shut that center down, it's going to put a lot of people out of work. And what is that going to do to their lives? So,
And that's part of the other issue that we face. And there's questions on, there is no question that Amazon has brought a lot of wealth into Puget Sound. But how much of that wealth is actually trickled down into the broader community? And I think we see the answer to that in the streets of Seattle.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
The last thing I want to close on is this. There may be some people watching this right now going, this is really ironic. David is here pro-union when all he does is bash police unions. Unions serve a role in representing workers so that they have a singular voice to go up against the companies. Not all unions are good. There are examples of where your unions have become corrupt and moribund and have destroyed the businesses and industries that they represented. The UAW and the state that the UAW was in from the 80s to the 90s is a great example of this. There are also unions that do tremendous work and represent their employees very, very well. And then there are unions that fall in between. And sometimes those lousy deals, like the one that we have with SPOG here in Seattle, it isn't completely SPOG's fault. Let's remember, the Seattle City Council and Seattle leadership, they signed that agreement. They didn't tell SPOG to take a walk. And now we have police officers with an average salary of $153,000 a year claiming they don't make enough money and can't live in the city, which is head-scratching in itself. In the 1950s, the United States enjoyed the highest standard of living on the planet. It was not utopia. We had problems in this country. We had racism, we had sexism on levels that aren't even close to what we have today. I get that entire picture. But you know what we did have in this country? 34% of Americans worked in a union. Pension was just given. You went to work for a company, you got a pension, you would retire from that company. Healthcare was a given. College education was free. Home ownership was seen as the path to creating material wealth, and we built the middle class to the largest one on the planet. And then Nixon became president, and equal rights among minorities was starting, and the Republican Party and the Democratic Party switched platforms, and white evangelicals and Christians wanted no part of this equality. So ironically, to help hold the BIPOC communities down, the very systems that lifted everyone into middle-class America started to get destroyed. And here we are in 2021, and the middle class is vanishing. And I'll close with this. Last year, during COVID, Jeff Bezos' personal wealth grew, or I should say, Amazon's stock grew over $1 trillion. Jeff Bezos almost increased his personal wealth by $1 billion in a year, when most Americans went backwards. It was a massive transfer of wealth.